Okay, so every now and then we get a file that comes through where the hit rate just isn't where we want it to be. It really should be up at that like 96 mark, 100%. Even 76 is low, but this is a very small file, so different things can cause that, right? But when we run a big file like this, seeing 68% is not what we're looking for. So typically there's a couple different things going on in here that'll cause a low hit rate. And there's ways that you can just take that file, run it a different way, or run the results through a different way in order to get more records out. So in this case, when we see a hit rate that's under 90%, but it hit a lot of the file, right? 68% of the file, over half. So it hit a bunch, which doesn't lead me to think that, hey, I messed something up mapping. If that number were down at like 10% or 7% or something like that, we could assume that I maybe messed something up in there because it's so far off, it just didn't match anything. So that's probably something wrong with my file or my mapping. But when we see this high with a big gap missing, where we're so short of 90%, but it's still a lot of the file, typically what's going to happen is it's just something that was put through that wasn't really set up the way the system wants it to come through to be able to match it correctly. And that usually happens with corporate. So what we're going to do is download this file and the results file and open that up. And what you're going to see is something's going to jump out at you. And this is typically the easiest way to figure out, hey, what did I do wrong, right? Or is there something wrong with the file? So we're going to open that file up in Excel. I'm just going to do a Control A, right, to select all. I'm going to select all the records in the file. And I'm going to do a quick sort here by phone one. So what this is going to do is take all the records that matched with a phone number, and it's going to put them up at the top of the file. And I'm doing this so I can just get rid of them, right? So I want to keep them in my original file. I'm still going to go in my download. I'm going to go import those somewhere else. That's all data. You don't want to just get rid of it. But for this case, I'm going to create a new version of this file that has just the stuff that didn't match. So I sort by that phone one. I come all the way back up to the file, and I'm just going to delete all these. And I highly recommend, guys, when you do this, before you do this, that you save this as a new file. So we're going to save this as that same order number so I know what it responds to, but I'm going to call it run 2. So I'm going to go through it again, right? So run 2 for that order. So as I come in here, I now got rid of all the phones, and I can see all this data that's left. And if you look down the line, something jumps out at you. Looks like a lot of corporates, right? You've got trusts here. You've got LLCs, all that kind of stuff sitting in this file, living trusts and all that. So that kind of data typically doesn't hit at a high percentage, but there is some data available out there for it. So usually if you see something like this where it doesn't hit properly, it's just a different way we need to input it. And here's the trick. What you have to do is, whether you realize it or not, even though you think this first name is blank, sometimes it doesn't get treated as a blank. So what we're actually going to do is just get rid of this column altogether or not map it, right? So I'm just going to delete it so it's not even there. So I'm not worried about the first name. I'm just going to input the last name, which has the entire company name in it, which is the way we want it. We want the entire company name there, done properly, just straight up, LiCorp Holdings Inc., just like that, with no first name. And then we're going to save that file. What we're going to do is come back into our system and rerun that file now. And when you go to do it, just leave out the first name. You're not going to map the first name. So you're going to map all the same stuff. Last name, leave out first name, do mailing address and do property address again, and then run that file that way. It's going to change county to county depending on what county you're in, but there's a certain percentage that's going to come back matched from those results that are left. We typically see corporates hit around 30 to 40%. But sometimes it's down at 10% and you just don't get as much out of it as you want to. And that, again, a lot of different reasons that happens. Take a look in here, see if there's anything that jumps out that, maybe the name's not in there properly, or maybe LLC isn't in there. All those little things can make a difference with the way these systems that we go get this information from, the way they treat all that stuff. So I just do a quick scan on things like that. I do a quick, find and replace. So if I notice that maybe LLC is always put in here, like that, separated out, I don't let, we want to get rid of that. Or if it's LLC like this, we're going to do a replace all to LLC. Not many of those. Looks like this one is like this, LLC. All those things can make a difference. 300 replacements on that, right? So we're going to replace all those and we'll close them and we'll see those are clean now. So now we save that file. We're going to hop back in here and run it again. Again, leave all your information in there. map it. There's no first name to map here, so we're going to leave that out. But map everything else the same way we do when we do the first pass file. It's the same thing. You're just kind of giving it the information a little bit different way that helps it figure out those corporates. Property zip. So you see all the same. I just didn't do the first name. I'm going to hit save. Come through. Okay, looks good. I saved that. We'll just save that. And then good to go. And we'll let that file process and see what else we pick up in additional records.